You know, the people that Mark Andrews was just talking about are often nominated for Bloomington's Be More Awards, which recognize people who sort of try to do more with less. And WTIU's Shamika Neely has a profile of just one such person.
A server at one local restaurant and bar does her part to give back to the community. For about 2.5 years, every third Thursday has been designated as an evening of giving back to local nonprofit agencies.
People who just don't have a lot of money but want to support a cause, they can give me $1, they can give me $5, doesn't matter. It's all the same, and every little bit helps.
Natalie says the average varies each month, but she just wants to assist the best way she can.
What we do is so little compared to what some of the volunteers, I mean, these nonprofits have to do fundraising, and they still are passionate about whatever cause they believe in. I mean, some of these people are just literally dedicating their lives to whatever nonprofit they're supporting, and ours is just a little tiny little thing, which is kind of the beauty of it too, I guess.
Some organizations would not exist if it weren't for dedicated volunteers like Natalie who make a difference. In fact, statistics show about 30% of Hoosiers volunteers who fundraise, while 20% mentor youth. Well, we now welcome one of Monroe County's most dedicated volunteers and a member of WTIU's Community Advisory Board, Lynn Schwartzberg, joining us again. Dr. Beth Gaisley and Barry Lesso, thanks again for being here. We saw volunteers like Natalie who pick the ones each month and she really does her part. Lynn, as a volunteer yourself, why do you do what you do?
I do what I do because my passion for a certain area of society, which primarily is the arts and culture, would not exist without the core of volunteers that drive those missions in every community in the country and probably around the world.
Now, as WTIU, WFIU, non-for-profit, I mean, we couldn't get by without volunteers like you. This is the economic impact of volunteers on organizations. What is that impact and how do we measure that, Beth?
Well, volunteers are responsible for the 1.5 million nonprofits, the civil society that we can't live without, because every organization has a volunteer board. From an organizational point of view, there are very few organizations out there that actually measure empirically the contributions that volunteers make. But there are some easy tools, you can find them online, for actually estimating what kind of impact volunteers make on clients and on communities.
In terms of where we are right now in our economy, this is going to become even more important, Barry, right?
Absolutely. Their budget pressures are being felt by a lot of nonprofit organizations. There's a lot of organizations, especially those that are serving the basic needs, are seeing an increase in demand and in some cases a decrease in the supply of funding. They're relying increasingly on volunteers, and some of them have done just a tremendous job over time in building up a solid core of volunteers who work in direct programs, whether it's involved in mentoring or serving food, and those organizations are really, I think, going to be utilizing those volunteers even more fully in the future. Something we need to watch out for as a community that has somewhat of an academic schedule is the change in supply of volunteers, especially from Indiana University during the summer months and over breaks. And so community members and others who might find that they are seeking those opportunities that we were talking about might find this a great time to get on the Bloomington Volunteer Network website, contact their local United Way of Community Foundation, and find out what opportunities might exist in their community.
Yes. Lynn, you wanted to say something to that as well?
Well, not so much to the social services, but some of the things that truly, I know we're tired of hearing it, but that make Bloomington Bloomington are absolutely driven by volunteers. When you look at something like the Lotus World Music Festival in the fall, 500 volunteers are trained and recruited in order to put on that 3-day festival. I don't think anybody realizes, and they're trained and recruited by volunteers, as a matter of fact. So that's a year-long process, and they're things that give us the community that we choose to live in, so that we can provide good jobs, social services, all the other things. They're all part of building blocks.
Exactly, and also when you talk about the Lotus World Music Festival, you know, things like Stonebelt, I mean, these volunteer networks are really basically, you know, in charge or overseeing big budgets as well. Wouldn't you say that as well?
In some cases, yes. I'm on the board at the Buskirk-Chumley Theater, and we have a very sizable budget, and we have to be very good stewards of that budget. Sure. I'm also in the City Arts Commission, which has a budget and tries to do things, proper things with public funds.
All right, well, thank you so much. Let's now go over to Stan with more in the WFIU studio. Stan.
Thanks, Ann. I'm here with John Weichert, Chancellor of Ivy Tech Bloomington. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for asking me.
You bet. I want to talk first about the O'Bannon Institute, which you guys have done for a couple of years now, and you're able to bring some pretty big names, recognizable names and faces, to a relatively small campus. What does it mean to you to be able to do that, to tell your students that community service is something that they should be thinking about?
Well, time flies. It's actually our 6th annual O'Bannon Institute coming up the end of this month. It's important to us because as a campus, we have embraced the goal of civic engagement. We believe it's the mission of a community college. We believe that our students who, when they graduate, want to stay and work in our communities, if they leave us with a commitment to service to their communities, then we've done an excellent job as a community college. Our opportunity to bring in national speakers, local speakers. I know some of the panelists Ann's speaking with have been involved and continue to be involved in the O'Bannon Institute, to expose our students to ideas about service, the value of nonprofit organizations to our communities. We think it's invaluable to them, and we look forward to that again this year.
One of the constituencies that is always involved in community service seems to be the college students. What kind of numbers do you see for Ivy Tech students about how they're getting involved, how many people are getting involved, and what kind of time they're spending in the community trying to make a difference? Well,
we see it happening in 2 areas. One is our civic engagement goal, actually, we refer to it as a 3-legged stool. And the first leg is individual volunteerism, not only on the part of our students, but our faculty and staff as well. The second leg is service learning, how we incorporate community service activities into the teaching curriculum. And then the third leg, lastly, how we use our institutional resources, how we use our facilities in support of our community. We are seeing more and more students engaged. The first year, when we asked our faculty and staff to begin to record for us their volunteer time, we saw over 10,000 hours of time volunteered to our local community by our faculty and staff, and you can literally put a dollar value on that. The service learning opportunities we're offering through the teaching curriculum, we hope through both nonprofit organizations and faith-based organizations that have service missions to give something back to our communities in that fashion. So be it our accounting program students who do tax preparation work at the Crestmont residential area, a marketing class that's helping design marketing plans and brochures for nonprofit organizations, all those things add up. And most importantly, our students tell us in response to our survey questions that they are more engaged in their coursework as a result, that they feel more committed to their communities as a result, and those are the outcomes we're looking for.
And lastly, tell us, when does the O'Bannon Institute happen, and who's going to be here this year?
Well, it's actually a 3-day event, but April 30th is one of the first public events. We have Doris Kearns Goodwin, who's coming to the IU Memorial Union. It's a fundraising dinner. We sold out within a couple of weeks. On the Friday, the theme Friday is the first 100 days of the Obama administration. Eugene Robinson, who's a columnist and a regular guest on MSNBC, various programs, is going to be with us. I've told both of them that I have the opportunity to invite people I want to meet, so that's why they're going to be here.
Well, we'll look forward to it. John Weichert, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Back to you in the studio, Ann.
All right, thanks a lot, Stan. And